file related programs, then a JVM will pop you a message saying that you are using a file related operations. So all those operations need to be enclosed with respect to try catch block. If you are not enclosing in a try catch block, so means it will show, it won't allow you to write the program if you are not enclosing those file handling statements with respect to try catch block, right? So what does it mean is, whenever you are using checked exception, what were the examples of a checked exceptions we have said when we are discussing a checked exceptions somewhere, yeah. Whenever you are writing a SQL related queries, that means SQL related instructions, whenever you are doing some IO related operations, that means this is with respect to file operations. Whenever you are doing a file related operations, or whenever you are doing a SQL related operations, right? So what a JVM says is, all these instructions must be enclosed in a try catch block, because those are checked exception, means there might be a possibility of exceptions generated with respect to these things. Checked exception. Unchecked exception means so means JVM will not have a that much so means it cannot put a restriction for everything. There are a few errors. For all those errors, for all those mistakes, it is not mandatory to put in a try catch block. That is nothing but unchecked exception. 1 second, I have an example here. Just a browse a minute. Okay. So here you have an example where you are performing a file handling operation. If you are not able to understand what exactly are those things, don't worry about that. Just assume that there is some file related operations done here. What you are doing, file reader you are doing, you are opening some file. Once it is opened up perfectly, then you are printing a message called a successful. This is what you are doing. Now what happens is, even though if you are writing these things properly, your JVM will throw you an error saying that this particular error, checked exception dot main, right? So this kind of error it will throw. Okay, so to avoid this particular error to be thrown, you have two options. One, you can use a throws keyword that we will be discussing later, and another one is you have to enclose those statements under try. Right? So what it is saying is, whenever you are performing any file related operations or SQL related operations or any checked exception kind of a stuff, then you must include those statements in a try catch block. If you are not including those statements in a try catch block, it will show you a message, error message, saying that there might be a possibility of an error with respect to these statements. Better you enclose those things in a try catch. Is it clear with the checked exception? Checked exception means those instructions need to be put in a try catch block. Unchecked exception means no requirement or no restriction that you have to put those things in a try catch block. Did I clarify it? Is it okay? Understood? Okay. See, again, our fourth unit, we have something called as a threads, that is a multi-threading concept. So the exceptions with respect to multi-threading are checked exceptions. Whenever you are using a thread related operations, all those instructions must be written in a try block itself. Right? So during the explanation of this particular file, I mean exception handling, we will be discussing only unchecked exception, but once we start with the thread concepts and all, we will go with the checked exceptions itself. Any other questions? Yes. So in the first class, so means in the first class of exception handling, we have discussed what is exception, and we have discussed this particular class hierarchy. We have discussed what is a checked exception and what is unchecked exception. We have seen a syntax, and we have not seen this particular finally block. Okay. We have discussed a few points with respect to introduction. So this is what we have done in a first class. Okay. So second class, we have discussed only multiple catch blocks. Only one topic, that is multiple catch blocks, right? So in a today's session, we have to discuss what is called as nested try block, right? If you are clear with respect to multiple catch block, if you are clear, then we will proceed with the nested try block. Yes. Okay. Okay, thanks for your response. We have to discuss what is called as nested try block now. Okay, so before we proceed with the nested try block, what is the description about that? We will see few theoretical aspects of why we need to go with the nested try block. 1 second. Right. Nested try block. Okay. So when you will be having a necessity of a nested try block is just have this particular code snippet. Say for example, if you have a operation something like this, int a is equal to say for example b by c, right? You don't know what will be the value of c, correct? It will be completely dependent on whatever the operations you are going to do earlier to this particular statement, right? So what I'm saying is you might have a, so means the value of this particular denominator depends on what value you are going to put with respect to c, right? So now what I'm saying is this particular expression evaluation completely depends on what is the value of this particular b and c. Now suppose if I am writing b is equal to 2, right? I'm not directly equating. Suppose if value of a b is equal to 2 and value of this particular c is equal to 0, right? Maybe some user has entered this one, or after evaluating few expressions you got this particular answer for a c, right? Now if I am performing this particular action, will there be an exception at this particular point? Right, because you are performing a division by 0. Okay, so after this particular statement, assume that I have a one more statement, something like string s is equal to null. Okay, so that is a string. Later I have a s dot length. Will it give error also? So means here also will it give exception? Correct. It will raise exception at both the places. Now, if I am enclosing these things under a try block, right? If I am enclosing these things under a try block, which is the first exception that will be caught? Arithmetic exception or a null pointer exception? Here it will be raising something called as arithmetic exception. This we have seen in the last classes. Here it will be raising the exception which is called as null pointer exception, right? If I am writing this particular code snippet in a try block, right? So which will be a first exception raised? Ultimately, arithmetic exception will be the first exception raised, right? Now, if I am writing a catch block after this particular try, can I write two catch blocks, right? One for arithmetic and one for a null pointer exception. Can be written. Okay. Now, assume that I wrote two catch blocks. Okay. So one is with respect to arithmetic exception object. This is the one catch block, right? I have written one more catch block, right? So this is your null pointer exception, and under that particular null pointer exception. Clear? Now my requirement is such that I wanted to handle both the exceptions. Is it possible if I am going with respect to multiple catch? Understand my question carefully. Let me summarize whatever the things I have told. In a try block, I have these two statements, right? So according to these two statements, there is a possibility of generating arithmetic exception, right? Now, with respect to second two statements, there is a possibility of generating null pointer exception. When I put this particular example into the execution with respect to this particular situation, so this particular exception will be raised. Which exception will be raised? Your arithmetic exception will be raised, right? And a suitable catch block of arithmetic exception will be executed. Correct? Will it go to a null pointer exception? No, because once a error has been occurred, once an exception has been raised, suitable catch block will be executed. Right? So now my requirement is I wanted to handle both the things. That means once a exception, arithmetic exception occurs, I wanted to handle that particular thing in a catch block. Once a string exception occurs, that also I wanted to handle with respect to catch block. How I need to do this particular thing? Now my intention is I need to handle both the exceptions. Repeat the question, sir. Let me write it as a program and then I'll tell you what is my requirement. The edit. Try statement and I have a catch. I have a catch block written for arithmetic exception and I have a one more catch block written for a null pointer exception. Right. Now what I'm saying is with respect to try block, if I'm writing int b is equal to some 5 comma c is equal to 0. Later I am writing a is equal to b divided by c, right? So it will raise arithmetic exception, I know. Now what I will do, if arithmetic exception has been raised, I will catch that particular arithmetic exception and I will say that you now consider the value of a is equal to 1, right? So system dot out dot println whatever is the value of a. What I have done now, if division by 0 is occurring, then there will be a arithmetic exception raised. When an arithmetic exception has been caught, I am making value of a is equal to 1. At the same time, whatever is the value of a, that I am printing. Next, I have a string s which is assigned with a null and I am saying s dot length. Right? So once I say s dot length, it will raise an exception, right? So which exception it will raise? It will raise null pointer exception. It says that you have assigned a null to the string, how you are able to calculate a length of a null string. Okay. So in this case, what I will say, you assign a value of a s with a something called a j. System dot out dot println whatever is the value of s that I wanted to print. Now, what will be output of a program if I execute this one? What I am saying is, as arithmetic exception will be raised first, so this particular catch block will be caught and this particular output I will be getting. Right? A comma B comma C. Right. So as arithmetic exception has been raised, only arithmetic exception catch will be called. Only arithmetic exception catch will be called. My intention is I wanted to handle both the things. I don't wanted to terminate my program here itself. I have a one more exception, that is s dot length. I wanted to catch this particular thing also. Output need to be printed with respect to this one also. What need to be done? At least with respect to this particular program, do you have a provision for handling only one particular exception, right? What can be done if I wanted to have a both different catches? Both, so means I wanted to get a print catch blocks with respect to both the exceptions. What has to be done?
Nested.
Directly nested try. Any other options? Okay. Now getting a few options, right? So this particular statement, I can, after this particular catch block, I can write a one more try block. Within this particular try block, I can put this particular s dot length. Right? So one try catch for arithmetic exception and another try catch with respect to null pointer exception. Is it feasible now? Can we get the output for both the catches now? Can we write a program something like this? Can we have a two try catch blocks within a program?
Maybe, sir.
Can we have a two try catch block? Yes. Getting an information message from both the catch blocks.
Yes, sir.
Correct, right? One way of handling a more than one exception is writing a separated try catch for each kind of each exception which you expect, right? If you are expecting a two different exceptions with respect to program, you can write a two different try catch blocks with respect to those particular exception. This is one way. Okay. So another way of going for this particular approach is putting a one particular try catch in another particular try catch, right? So what is the advantage? Why we need to go with a nested try catch when you are able to finish that particular task by writing a separate try and a catch blocks? Right? Now, shall I do a small change with respect to this particular program? Can you just reply me what might be the output if I do that particular change? Is there any exceptions handled for a syntax in a Java? Syntax errors means that will be considered as an error, not an exception. Right. So now let me do a small change. Let me cut this particular catch block here. Let me paste this particular catch block here. Cut this particular catch block here. Pasted a catch block here. What a change we have done. Try. What is the expected exception? Arithmetic exception. What exception you are catching? Null pointer exception. Okay. Which is the next try? Try. The expected exception is a null pointer exception, but what you are catching is arithmetic exception. Can we write something like this? What might be the output if I am writing a statement something like this? Will it work fine? Whether this particular arithmetic exception will be caught by this particular catch block? Whether this particular try s dot length, which is a null pointer exception, will it be caught by this particular catch? Yes. Okay. Only one answer. Others may not be. Okay. Any other answers? Yes. Okay. Any other answers? Right. So let us check what it will say if we are not writing a catch blocks immediately to the try block. You are writing a catch block somewhere else. What it is showing? Whether a catch block has been handled. That is the reason when we share the slides, you have to go through the slides properly. Here we wrote a statement in the introduction saying that what this instruction says, last point, a catch statement cannot catch an exception thrown by another try statement. Right? So with respect to your program, now what is the thing? What's happening actually? Try and a catch. This is a one particular block. Correct? So what exception has been raised here? Here you are raising an exception called arithmetic exception. What type of a catch block you wrote? You wrote a null pointer exception. Here things will not match. Right? So no matter of going with respect to another part itself. Once there is an exception raised in this particular try block, it will check whether catch block has been written for this particular exception or not. Right? So where it will check? If you have written multiple catches here, it might have checked here only. You have not written a multiple catch. You wrote another try block. So what it will do is, it will check only with respect to this particular catch block that you wrote. Correct? So what happens is, arithmetic exception has been raised, but you have not handled that particular arithmetic exception here itself in a catch block. Somewhere you wrote, but that will not be caught. Clear? So when it got a new try block, it feels that you have not written a catch block with respect to this particular exception, and it will throw you an error. Right? Now let me rewrite the same program in another fashion. Erased everything. Just I have some variables. Now I will write a try. This is a try block. After this particular try block, I will be writing some catch block. Right? So let me write later what catch I am performing there. Okay. So within this particular try block, so let me initialize the values something like b is equal to 5 and c is equal to 0. Right? So I am going to calculate a is equal to b by c. Am I raising exception? What kind of exception I am raising? I am raising arithmetic exception. Right. So now what I will do is, I will put this particular arithmetic exception error inside a sum try. Now I will write a catch arithmetic exception e. Right? Now system dot out dot println of a handled this particular arithmetic exception. This is within a try. I have a one more try catch. Now here with respect to outer try, let me write something like outer try block. With respect to outer try block, if a catch has been expected, null pointer exception, the value of yes should become something like a chain. System dot out dot println of whatever is the content of that particular yes. Right. So now what we are doing is, see, what we are doing is outer try we have written yes dot length. Inner try you got a sum this particular exception try catch. Right. Now let me run this particular program and I show you output. Will it show both the catch blocks or not? Cannot find spelling mistake. Okay. One second. Compile fine. Okay, so outer block has been caught. It didn't went for an inner block. Okay, so now let me not make any mistake with respect to outer block. I have given some value for that. Okay, so now let me just cross check. Will it go to an inner block or not? Yes, going for an inner block also. Right. Let me do a small twist now. What is that twist is, suppose I have not written arithmetic exception in the inner catch. First of all, if you are clear with this example, then only I will proceed. If you have any questions with respect to this one, you can post. What we have done is, previously we wrote two different try catch blocks for execution. We have seen that one particular exception thrown by outside a try block will not be caught by another catch block which has been written somewhere. That was a problem. We said that if we want to avoid that particular problem, we need to go with a nested try. Okay. In a nested try, now I have not answered that particular problem which I raised previously. I am just showing you normal working of a nested try catch block. Right? So we didn't do anything extra. We have a outer try block, right? So within the outer try block, we have some issue, right? If this issue has been raised, then automatically the control will be taken to a outside a catch block, right? If you don't have any issue with respect to this particular statement, then only the inner try block will be executed. Okay. If you have any issue with respect to inner try block, then only this particular catch block will be executed. Clear till this particular point? Now can I shuffle these two catch blocks? Shall we shuffle these two catch blocks? If we shuffle, will it work fine or will it throw you error? Error. Okay, so let us just shuffle these two catch blocks and just cross check what error we might get, right? So what I will do is, for an outer try I will write arithmetic exception, and for an inner try block, I will make what is called as null pointer exception, right? So now where is our exact exception? What is our exact exception? Is it a null pointer exception or arithmetic exception? Is there any problem with respect to this particular statement? No problem with respect to this particular statement, right? You have initialized that particular string s with some value. So no problem with respect to s dot length now. Okay. So it will go to a nested try. In a nested try, what you have written, b by c you have written. So here there is a possibility of arithmetic exception raised, right? So immediate catch block is not written with respect to arithmetic exception, but outside of a try, you have a something called as arithmetic exception, right? So question is, will it go to this particular outside arithmetic exception, or here itself will it say error message saying that you have not handled this particular arithmetic exception? That is the conclusion that we need to witness. So let us just compile and cross check. Will it throw error or will it show you a proper message considering your outer catch block? Is it showing error now? Not showing, right? So this is the advantage if you are going with the nested try catch blocks instead of going with respect to separate try catch blocks written for the each statement. What is the advantage is, for an innermost try statement, it can check its immediate catch block, or if a catch block is not matching, it can go to a outside catch block. It can check whether a catch block has been written. If you have written a 3 times nested try, that means a try, within that try one more try, within that try one more try. If you have written a triple nested try block, then internal, whatever is the innermost try block is there, right? So that particular innermost try block will have a matches. That means it can match with all the 3 layers of a catch blocks. Clear with the explanation of a nested try, when to go with a nested try, how exactly nested try will work. Nested try is this particular part, right? So for this particular nested try, immediate catch also it will check for the exception. Outside of this try, whatever a catch you have written, for that also it will check whether catch block has been written for the exception or not. If you are clear with the example and explanation, we can go through the slides in the PPT. Okay, so let us see the points which has been written with respect to slides with respect to our nested try block, right? A try statement can be inside the block of another try, then only it will be called as a nested try, right? Each time a try statement is entered, the context of that exception is pushed on the stack, right? If an inner try statement does not have a catch handler for a particular exception, right? Have a program in your mind. What it is saying is, if an inner try statement does not have a catch handler for a particular exception, what it will do? The stack is unknown. That means inner exception has not been caught. Inner catch is not valid for that particular exception. What it will do? It will go to the outer try catch handler, right? So the stack is unknown, and the next try statements catch handlers are inspected for a match, right? If I am just going through the slides, you will never understand what exactly the points we are talking about, right? If you have an idea of a program, whatever we have discussed, then only you can relate those statements with respect to So means you can relate those instructions with respect to these statements, right? So what it is saying is, if a inner catch block is not efficient, that means if you have not handled the exception occurred by a inner try block with respect to that particular catch, then it will come out, it will check with respect to outer try catch block. Clear? Done. This continues until one of the catch statements succeeds or until all of the nested try statements are exhausted. Right? So assume that you have written 4 try statements, one within another. Okay. So innermost try, you wrote some instructions that has not been caught by any of the catch blocks. Right? When you are writing a 4 try blocks, obviously there will be a 4 catch blocks written. Now what I'm saying is, your innermost try, whatever exception it is rising, if that particular exception has not been handled by any of the catch blocks you wrote, then the control will be given for a JVM for execution. That means it will throw you error saying that there is an exception, something, whatever exception has been caught. If no catch statement matches, then the JVM runtime system will handle that particular exception. Right? Example we have already seen. If you have any questions with respect to all these 6 points, you can post those questions in a chat box. Sir, please explain last second point. Okay, so last second point is, this continues until one of the catch statement succeeds or until all of the nested try statements are exhausted. You want me to explain this particular point? Yeah, okay. So one second, let me show you the things in the notepad. Right. Say for example, you have a nested try statements written something like this. This is one try block. So within that particular try, one second, within this particular try, you have a one more try. Within this particular try, you have a one more try. Right? So within this particular try, you have written one more try block. Okay. Now, with respect to all these try blocks, there will be a catch blocks written. Correct? For this particular try, there will be a catch block written somewhere here. For this particular try, there will be a catch block written. For this particular try, one catch block written, and for this particular try, one more catch block will be written. Now, say for example, here you got some arithmetic exception you got, right? So where you got inside of your 4th try block, you got something called as arithmetic exception. Now, with respect to this particular try block, you wrote some catch block, but that catch block is not with respect to arithmetic exception. What it will do is, it will come out of that particular catch block, it will just check what is the catch block with written with respect to this particular try block. Right? Assume that even this particular catch block is not with respect to arithmetic exception, some other exception. What it will do is, it will come out and check another try block which is outside. Right? Suppose even this particular catch block with respect to this particular try, here also you are not handling this particular arithmetic exception. What it will do is, it will go for a outermost try block now. Suppose here also you didn't handle this particular arithmetic exception. What it will do is, it will check that he has not handled any of us, means any of a catch blocks written are not with respect to this particular arithmetic exception. So the control will be given to your JVM. Okay. So what a JVM will do? Yes, there is an exception raised and you have not handled that particular exception. So program will be abnormal termination and it gives you a message saying that exception in our thread main, right? So that particular exception will be raised for you. Okay. Somebody asked with respect to code.
Sir, what is the use of this nested try block, as we can use try block outside the try.
I didn't get your question. What is the use of a nested try? That only I understood. After that, whatever you said, it was
Yeah. What is the special feature that differentiate from we can use try block outside the first try, right?
If you are writing a separated try and a catch, see if a exception rises from a one particular try block, only that a suitable catch block can handle. Other catch blocks cannot handle that particular scenario. What I mean to say is, say for example, if you have a scenario something like that, let me share your notepad. Okay, so here for this particular arithmetic exception, which is a part of your fourth try block, right? So for this particular arithmetic exception, which is a part of a fourth try block, you will be having a possible 4 catch blocks applicable for this particular arithmetic exception, right? Assume that there are a few instructions which might be raising arithmetic exception. Now, with respect to this particular innermost statement, there might be a possibility of a 4 catch blocks matching. Assume, if I am not writing a things in this particular fashion, if I am writing everything as a separate try catch block, one try is here, right? So suitable for that particular try, I have a catch block written, right? So another try block here, another catch block here. Now what I'm saying is all these, so means these two are independent try catch blocks. Now if something is happening with respect to this particular try, say for example arithmetic exception has been occurred here, but a catch block has written with respect to IO exceptions, what will happen? It will throw you error saying that this particular catch has not been caught, right? Suppose you have handled IO exception here, right? So even though if you have a written, say for example, you have handled AE here, arithmetic exception you have handled. Where exactly arithmetic exception has been raised? In the first try. Where exactly you are writing that particular arithmetic exception? In a second try block, right? So now this particular catch block is not applicable for this one, right? Say for example, if I wanted to have this particular catch block here, so means a separate catch block for AI also, then what I have to do is I have to copy paste these particular instructions here, right? So again with respect to one more try, again I am writing arithmetic exception. Now what I am saying here is this particular arithmetic exception is with respect to this particular try, and this particular arithmetic exception is with respect to this particular try. Am I writing a code redundantly? Right?
Yes.
So instead of this, what I can do is I can write a one try block, right? So within this particular try block, I can write a one more try block, right? So now I can specify with respect to innermost one, I can specify one catch block, let it handle IO exception, right? But exception raised might be AE, exception raised might be AE, right? So let this particular exception might be handled here outside of this particular catch block, right? So now how many times I am writing that particular catch block? I am writing only one time. But that particular arithmetic exception, this particular outer arithmetic exception, now be applicable with respect to inner try and as well as with respect to outer try also. Understood the difference? Okay. Any other questions? If you don't have a question, then we will discuss one more small topic. With respect to that particular topic, I'll just give you an introduction and a small example. In the next class, we will be discussing a working example with respect to that particular topic. Shall we proceed with that? Yes. So the next small topic which we need to discuss is nothing but throw. Oh, what is this throw? So what does the throw says is when there is a necessity to throw the exception explicitly when there is necessity of throwing the exception explicitly, then you will be using a keyword called a throw. Right. How this particular throw will be done? You need to write a keyword called a throw, then you need to pass throwable object. What is this throwable object? Did you hear about a throwable somewhere? Did you heard a throwable somewhere? Do you remember somewhere we have heard this name called a throwable? Where might be that particular somewhere? Yes, where? When I have shown you a class structure of your exceptions, we have said that you have a class called a throwable. From a throwable, you have a two different classifications. One is exception and another one is a error. From a exception, you have a subclass which is called as runtime exception. Now what we are saying is, whenever we are throwing a exception, then that should be object of this particular throwable, right? So let us see a small example how exactly we are throwing a exception explicitly. Be clear with the statement. I am saying throwing a exception explicitly. Now what's happening? Now what's happening is, whenever there is a error, then only the exception has been raised. Now my intention is not that one. My intention is, whenever I feel to throw some exception, I can throw that particular exception. Sir, how? Simple. You said already. You need to use a keyword called a throw. What is the next thing you need to pass? You need to pass object of a throwable. Right? Throwable object. How to create object? New keyword. Right. So what kind of object? So means you wanted to declare object of a which particular class? Let me say something like, yes, what does it mean now? Throw new arithmetic exception. Whether arithmetic exception is a object, whether arithmetic exception is a class of a throwable. Yes, throwable has been extended with a exception class. Exception class has been extended with a runtime exception. So arithmetic exception is a runtime exception. So it is a child of your exception. Ultimately, exception is a child of your throwable. Are we following a syntax? Did we do the things according to the syntax, whatever we said? When there is a necessity to throw the exception explicitly, then you are using the keyword called a throw. Yes, I wrote a throw. After a throw, what is the argument to be passed? A throwable object, right? So how to create object? By using a new keyword, correct? So arithmetic exception. Is this a way how you will be creating object? Shall we run the program? What it will do? What's the output? Exception in thread java.lang.arithmetic exception. Did we perform any divided by zero operation there? No, right? We directly called that particular exception class. We directly created an object of this particular throw. Right? So can we handle this particular exception? Can we handle? Yes, when you are okay to throw an exception, why can't you handle? Try. Right? So what kind of exception you are raising? Arithmetic exception you are raising. Catch that particular arithmetic exception. Right. So when this particular exception has been caught, what has to be done? System dot out dot println of, right? RCB, right? Now compile the program, cross check, handled that particular exception, thrown an exception explicitly, right? When you are throwing, what kind of object you have thrown? You have thrown arithmetic exception object, right? So that particular arithmetic exception object has been caught by this particular catch. Justified with the syntax, justified with the example, understood how to call explicitly some exception. Yes. Okay. Now, I already told you I will not be taking a working example with respect to throw. I'll be just giving you introduction, why you will be using a throw, what are the different ways of using a throw. Working example we will take in the next class. But you should be clear with all the concepts with respect to throw, whatever we will discuss now, so that you will understand a working example in a better fashion. Right? Okay. So what are the things we said? We said that whenever we want to throw the explicitly one exception, then we will be using the throw. How to call that particular exception explicitly? Throw. You need to create an object of a throwable object. That means there should be some throwable object, right? So this is one of our arguments. That means one of the object that has to be passed with respect to this particular throw, right? So another, with respect to throw, you can also use, we can also use the object of, for a throw you can also use the object used at catch block, right? So whatever object you are using with respect to catch block, that particular object can be used with respect to throw. Now what does it mean? Let us look with respect to program, right? So what is the object with respect to catch block? This particular E is nothing but the object with respect to catch block. Now after this particular system dot out dot println RCB, here I can write a statement something like this. Now what does it mean? What is E? It is an object of type arithmetic exception. It is, E is nothing but object of type arithmetic exception. Now what you are saying is throw an arithmetic exception, right? So initially there was no object, so you wrote a new arithmetic exception, right? So but here with respect to catch block, you are creating an object of arithmetic exception E, so you can directly throw that particular E, no problem with respect to that, right? So in this case, what will be output? Will it go to catch block again back? Throw is nothing but throw exception, right? When a throw exception has been thrown, then there should be a catch block handled for that one. Now my question, when you are saying a throw E, will it go back to a catch block and print this particular statement once again? Are you able to understand? When I put a program for the execution, it will start from a main function, try, you have a throw, new arithmetic exception, when you are throwing arithmetic exception, it will be caught by this particular catch block. Okay, so now what you are doing is, from the catch block, again you are throwing a one more exception, right? So now my question is, will it go back to this particular catch block again, or whether a control will be given to your JVM? Do you have any other try catch block written after this particular statement? Not written. Okay, so let us just cross check what happens if I am writing a statement something like this. Compiled. Yes, no errors. What's happening? It has handled a catch block. Later, it has given a control to your JVM, saying that you don't have a further catch blocks for this particular throw. So ultimately, you take a care of this particular exception. Understood? Was that clear? Sir, why we will throw exceptions? To get errors? Okay. Explain once again. See, in a real time, when you are writing exception, there might be a situation something like, see, here what you are doing, you are throwing a system built-in exception. You are throwing some system built-in exception, right? There might be a scenario wherein which you have created your own exception. Okay, you have created your own exception on a particular condition satisfied. You wanted to throw that particular exception. Say for example, you have a bank account which is a savings bank account, so you have a limit for that particular savings bank account. Something like, if a balance is less than 1,000, then I wanted to show an exception saying that balance cannot be less than 1,000, right? Here you don't have any system built-in exceptions for these kind of a thing saying that minimum balance. No, arithmetically that is not a valid, right? Now what is the scenario is, you have to define a separate class, right, which will extend your exception class, right? Then you have to call that particular exception. When you have to call that particular exception, when balance is less than 1,000, you have to call that particular exception, right? Are you calling that particular exception explicitly? System will not handle this kind of a stuff, right? You are calling the things explicitly, right? So whenever you want to show that, whenever you want to say that there is some issue explicitly without a knowledge of a system, then you will be using the throw keyword. Before a writing also, I told you here arithmetic exception is not going to occur. There you have not performed any division by zero operation, right? Without performing anything also, you can explicitly say that yes, there is error. Yes, there is error. Yes, there is error. Can be told, right? So it is up to you. Whenever you feel that there is some exception need to be called, in those scenarios you will be going with the throw, right? And the 99.9% of times you will not be using a throw keyword with respect to system built-in exceptions, right? So 99.9% of the time you will not be using a throw keyword with respect to system built-in exceptions. For understanding, I just wrote a system built-in exception. But in a real time, this will not be a scenario. Always your throw keyword will be used with user-defined exceptions. You will be defining what kind of exception need to be handled. Clear the things? Okay. So if anybody has any questions, you can post those questions in the chat box. So I already told you we will be seeing a working example with respect to throw in a later class. But what you need to remember is, with respect to throw, you can create a new object and a throw exception, or you can use object of a catch block that can be an argument with respect to throw. Sir, I am getting a symbol error. So can you tell me to set it up in a JEdit? You just send me a, so means what error you are getting, you just send me a snapshot of that on WhatsApp. I'll just cross check.